Story. This time again, heavy rains turned several stretches into virtual waterways. School buses carrying children were left stranded in floodwaters, with students forced to wait for hours before reaching home. Videos from the city show just how severe the waterlogging was. Cars stalled, traffic paralyzed, and roads completely submerged. In one viral video, a Gurugram man abandoned his car after flooded roads made driving impossible. He then took a bike ride through the waterlogged streets to finally reach his high-end DLF neighborhood, describing it ironically as a 300 crore neighborhood. The question is not whether Gurugram can build towers. The question is, can it build the drainage to support them? Year after year, the same monsoon crisis returns, and the floods are now raising a bigger question. Is Gurugram really a millennium city or a city that still cannot manage its monsoon? Joining us live, Dr. Harish Tripathi, Principal Architect. Also with us, Major Mohammad Ali Shah, Gurugram resident. Shifali Chopra, Gurugram resident, joins us. Swarleen Kaur, author and Gurugram resident, is with us live. Also joining us is Gauri Sareen. Well, let me begin with you first, Dr. Tripathi. What really is the reason for this crisis that Gurugram finds itself in year after year?
There are multiple reasons we have been discussing on various platforms. And what is surprising that after so many years of problem, we are not able to find any foolproof solution. That is amazing. I mean, on paper or theoretically speaking, lot of work has been going on. Lot of work is going on redesigning the entire drainage system, as well as to improve the bottlenecks that we have. But eventually, we are not getting the result. I think the kind of speed we need to mitigate this problem, we are not. Overall government is not able to work on that pace, and be it problem of cleaning of all the drains in time, to implementing the rainwater harvesting system, to redesigning. There is a mega redesign, but overall implementation up to entire part. And then other is that whatever bottlenecks or sensitive points we have, every year it is declared that now this year on this subway we will not have any kind of flooding. Immediately we'll pump out everything. But eventually when time comes, it all fails. And
aren't corrective steps being taken? No, why aren't corrective steps being taken? That is also a big question, of course. Now, let me bring in Major Mohammad Ali Shah. Major Mohammad Ali Shah, take us through what you faced in Gurugram yesterday and what you probably face every time there is heavy rainfall in the city.
Right, Uday, thank you very much for bringing up this issue, because we are actually fed up of it. There is flooding in Gurgaon. In Gurugram, they are memes that straight off Gurgaon is open so US ships can come in. That kind of stuff, it's actually a big joke. They are jokes that property dealers are being arrested because they are selling flats, sea-facing flats. So it is actually a nightmare. School buses have stopped. They were stranded. Fortunately for my child, the school was wise enough to keep that in mind, and so they declared early dispersal and such things. That's a different thing. But for a lot of schools, a lot of parents I know, they suffered. One father had to get his small daughter for 3 hours. They were stuck. School buses were stuck. They were office goers, they are commuters who are stuck. It's actually very terrible town planning, I would say. Terrible. And what is the MCG doing? The Municipal Corporation of Gurugram, my goodness, naam badalne se kuch nahi hoega bhaiya. You call it Gurgaon or you call it Gurugram. Where is the work? Where are the results? what have the people done on ground? Gurugram pays one of the highest income tax, right? Where is the taxpayers' money going? Not for stupid. We saw some stupid viral video of one girl saying, income tax gets your salary, some nonsense like that, which she had to apologize. But where is our income tax money going? So I think people in Gurugram are fed up. It's a beautiful city, it's a beautiful place. But because of this unplanned stuff, people are getting fed up. They are saying it's hardly a place to live in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I take pride at the very fact. Yeah.
Yes, and the sad part is that the story doesn't change
I think
year after year.
pride that
Shefali
has
Chopra, it is like deja vu. Every year, I'm sure when the monsoon comes, you see the same discussions, you hear the same comments and statements, but year after year, nothing changes. Does that shock you? Does that not surprise you anymore? What do you feel as a resident of Gurugram?
It doesn't surprise me anymore because this has been happening for many years now. Constantly we are on these debates. I think this season itself, a couple of us have been coming over and over again and speaking about the same issues. But this truly, Uday, was a nightmare seeing all those children in a bus. Imagine what they would be going through. Imagine the psyche of a child. They may want to go to a loo. They were hungry, they were tired. Some of them were like really crying, out for help, for parents. Some thought it was a picnic and maybe it was for fun that this was happening. But after some time, all that excitement did die away and they were all actually crying for help. This is a very sad affair that I must say has happened in Gurgaon. I think this is high time that the government should wake up to doing something about it. I understand that the planning of a city at once was never done. These things are done in compartments, if I may say. They pick up a region and they work on it, and then the next region, and the third. That's the reason that this civic sense of proper, drainage system is not there. We have spent so much money to buy these palatial houses, but what are we doing the minute we come out of that particular house? We all are sharing those roads, and imagine we are still fine because we are safe in our houses. Imagine the people who cannot afford that kind of lifestyle. Imagine them. हम कहते तो हैं कि घर में बैठो, sit online, do your work. There are many people who cannot sit online. They cannot do that work. There is something called रोज दिहाड़ी के बंदे, लोग जो काम करेंगे और वो खाएंगे. What about them? Imagine what the situation is right now. I think it's high time that Uday, something through your channel, through your intervention, taking up these topics will definitely make a difference, and they'll probably look into our direction.
Because
there are parents,
some of them,
frantic,
Swarleen Kaur, some of them are, some of the world's most expensive neighborhoods which are in Gurugram. There are, of course, multiple crore neighborhoods, where, of course, flats cost an arm and a leg. They are some of the world's most fanciest residences. But what is happening outside is terrible. What is the point of paying crores and crores if this is what residents have to face every year? And it's not just for them, but it's for imagine if they are also facing this, what the Aam Aadmi is facing on ground in Gurugram. And we also saw what school children unfortunately had to, go through yesterday. There were school children stranded in buses on the flooded streets. Those visuals went viral. Swarleen Kaur.
Yes, I think as residents of ground, there's a sense of frustration. I think, but more than frustration, there's a sense of insecurity. When we as parents are worried about the security of the children, will they reach home safely? We've accepted waterlogging, I don't know why, and the traffic disruption as almost normal during every heavy rainfall. But today we've seen those children stranded in school buses for hours. That is where I think we've got to draw that line. We just cannot normalize a situation where a parent doesn't know whether the child is secure or not because of the rain. Gurgaon being one of the most important economic hubs of the country, I think having all those world-class corporate offices, infrastructures, neighborhood, residential developments we are talking about, but the city is not truly developed? It is not just a few hours rain that can bring it to standstill. as residents, we just don't want to blame. We want three things: preparedness, accountability, and a very clear action plan. If you ask me, are we angry? Yes, there is anger, but I think it has to be a constructive anger. Every monsoon, we have been discussing the same waterlogging points. The question now is, what changes before the next rainfall? And we need to stop treating every flood as the unexpected event. And that's where, particularly children are involved. Residents need to know that there is a system working before, during, and after an emergency, not just a response once when something has gone wrong. So as Gurgaon residents, we have learned to plan our routes around waterlogging. We should not have to plan our lives around that civic failure. That's my take on it.
Gauri Sareen, you are of course the convener for making a model Gurugram. This is clearly not a model Gurugram, is it?
Absolutely.
How are we going to make a model Gurugram? Who is going to make a model Gurugram?
So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yes, I've been a convener of making model Gurugram for the past almost 15 years now. And what I'm observing over a period of time, and we work closely with the government. I've just come out from a meeting with the municipal commissioner, raised a lot of issues around colonies and what they have faced. But GMDA, we need to separate. I'm just giving a slight perspective. GMDA and MCG have very different roles when it comes to waterlogging. And this year, way back in January, when the pollution piece was still very high, and it was at its peak, even at that time, they were huddling together and trying to work on a plan for waterlogging. Unfortunately, what we saw yesterday was a complete disaster, especially near Subhash Chowk. Of course, there are many other junctures where we saw this. Now, I met the Chief Minister about 5 weeks ago in Chandigarh. And the first thing he told me is very self-congratulatory that we have done a tremendous work on waterlogging this time and you will see the difference. After I heard him, I went back and I did a recce of the city just for next 2 days. I discovered some very good things and I discovered some very not so good things, which I've shared with him. And the good things I observed were that there was the first time in many years I saw a drainage system which had come up in SPR, where they've spent hundreds of crores. And they have actually dug out all the footpaths across all the sector roads. This is done by GMDA. And they had actually, literally drains which had been clogged for years together. They had cleaned them up for the first time, literally. I was very hopeful that this year, at this time, it's not going to be so bad. Unfortunately, what we saw was, I won't say a repeat, because I think considering the rains have become so this is another perspective I want to add this time. The rains in Gurgaon have changed. I'm sure they've changed in many parts of India and the world, which is they have become very episodic and cloud burst type of rains, which means at any point of time, the rains don't come in a pitter patter long period. They come as 60 mm, 70 mm, 90 mm. And those just put too much pressure on the drains, which are almost dead in Gurgaon. And even if they have been revived, they're very, very poorly laid out. So the fact is that today you have a situation where some of the sector roads, at least some of the junctures, are facing problems like Subhash Chowk did yesterday. And the colonies which are low-lying continue to have drainage issues. How do we really solve them? I think the time has come for Gurgaon to get into disaster mode, because if we are going to have the same pattern year after year, which is 60, 70, 80, 90 mm of rain at one point of time, I don't think any simple drainage system is going to be able to solve it. We definitely need a disaster mode in this. We definitely need the best kind of contractors working on this. And interestingly, when I met the commissioner this time, he had some very out-of-the-box solutions, which are being developed now by IIT Gandhinagar, which is really going down using harvesting as a method to, a harvesting type of method, which is called, injection harvesting, where they really pour the water straight down to the aquifer very, very fast, and that brings down the level of water logging in the cities. Now, so there are some of these innovative. We've also talked about the Coimbatore sponge city model. So we are trying to push the government to get innovative, to think out of the box, to use more expertise rather than the typical clean the drain and see whether it works or not. I don't
Okay.
think things like this will work anymore. We need the CM has to create a cell which works, a task force which works on this the year round, comes up with real solutions which are. And the fact is, I think everyone has already said it, we are an
Yes.
unplanned city. We have blocked everything.
Okay.
So if this is going to go on,
Okay.
I think we need sharper brains
All
and
right.
execution.
All right, let me yes, go back to you, Dr. Tripathi. Is it the fact that Gurugram is unplanned? Is it the fact that there is no desilting happening on time? Is it the fact that the drainage system is not adequate for the amount of people that are now living there? Is it the fact that too many licenses have been given for very less space, be it commercial establishments or be it residential flats and neighborhoods? What is the actual problem at the crux of the entire issue, Dr. Tripathi?
Actually, you see, this city of Gurgaon, this was not planned like any Chandigarh or any other city, which is planned like even Noida. That is planned in one go, and everything is calculated and then planned. What happened? Most of the developments have been on PPP model or some other model, and those things kept on adding. So, then continuity of drain and size or the kind of hierarchy you need in those drains, they are not having. And as ma'am said, that is also very right. Even Delhi, many parts of Delhi where these drains were planned for 50 in 24 hours. Now we are witnessing more than 75 or 90 rain. So obviously, in this kind of situation, I mean, whatever happened, that happened. But now it's a developed city, it's an important city. We can always redesign. Government is doing a lot of things, but obviously we can design for 100 we can design for 200 and whatever bottlenecks are there, they can be solved. It is just a will of the government. What happens, like DLF is selling something for some crores, but that is fine. But they cannot work on entire or any individual or anybody cannot work on such a big thing. So it's this infrastructure can be done by government, and whatever bottlenecks like Basapur, everybody talks about, and government can do all those things. So if they are serious, they will solve it.
Yes. Major Mohammad Ali Shah, is it time for the citizens of Gurugram to demand more accountability from their state government, from their representatives, be it in the municipal bodies or in the legislative bodies?
Yes, Uday, most certainly, and I totally agree with all the panelists over here. See, Uday, the very fact is they have not planned. Unlike Chandigarh or other place, fine. Whatever happened. It's a very wrong thing, fine. But what's the way ahead now? Whatever jo hua, so hua. Ab aage kya? So tomorrow when people go for work, they don't have to face inconvenience. Tomorrow when our children go to school, they don't have to face inconvenience. Ultimately, the parents have to go to school and fetch them up. And there are memes that auto par kar rahi hai, a big SUV is not being able to pass the water puddle, and such kind of jokes are going on. Now, how do we rectify it ahead? So I think the government should actually come forward. The state government I'm talking about, they should put their bodies in place. The MCG, whoever is responsible. People, citizens are not interested in knowing which organization, which body is actually interested. उनको है सरकार से. बस सरकार क्या कर रही है? That they are going to be questioning the government. But now, whole night, whether they drain it out, how they do it, kaise kare. In our military training, we were told to manage. We were taught to manage. How you manage, we don't know, but manage it somehow. Similarly, I think the people responsible have to manage it somehow so that next morning, my parents have been out since morning, since the afternoon. They haven't returned back home till now. So it's like, it is difficult. People are worried. We've made so many calls to them. It's actually getting very, very difficult. What's happening? What's going on? And yes, you are right, absolutely right. It's about time for people of Gurgaon, of Gurugram, to come forward and raise some very, very pertinent questions now, Uday.
Okay. All right. What about residents as well? What more can residents do, Shefali, to also, find a solution? Of course, Gauri Sareen, one of our panelists, also a resident, is doing her best, and that's great as well. But what more can residents do, to help find a solution to this mess?
Well, I personally think when in this kind of a situation, I'm not really sure about what residents can do. But the only thing is that they need to, when actually the government has sent an advisory of you not to travel, you make sure you are at home. Don't try to be a genius and try to prove everybody wrong just to go out to make some reels and get some kind of publicity stunt. Please stay at home. People, I think, take it very easily when a government is sending you like a message like you have to be home. It's an advisory. Please follow it. It was meant for schools, it was meant for corporate offices, it was meant for government offices. I mean, why would you like to challenge that? Many a times, as ma'am said some time back, we are not able to control the forces of nature.
Yeah.
And it's not, I am not saying that they are not trying.
Okay.
Government is trying, but they really need to try a little harder, because at the end of the day, we as people of India cannot go out and make roads, right? That is not something no one is allowed to. But what we expect is only from the government that they should really look into this direction and take it more seriously. That's what I feel, Uday.
All right. Also, Swarleen Kaur, are you seeing the situation, of course, improve at all, or is it just getting worse and worse every year?
I think to what all debates we've been having in continuation, and what we faced yesterday also, the situations have gone bad to worse. Also, to add to it today, I think, Gurgaon has become a little more concrete city, what the infrastructure actually wanted it to be. So I think it's becoming very bad day by day. It has to, there have to be measures which have to be taken. The pre-monsoon audits have to have happened. A collective and a collaborative work has to stand out so that, for the next monsoon, we are not discussing what happened, why did it happen, but what improved. That's
Yes. Also, a final word to you, Gauri Sareen, on, of course, this, as you said, that the government feels that things are improving, but on ground, it's a completely different situation. Yes. So where is the gap? Where is the gap, and how do we plug that?
So I think the government goes by the effort it seems to be putting, right, in terms of creating a drainage, taking whatever inputs.
So are the people on ground not implementing that?
So there is an implementation, and I think there has been an improvement. For example, one of the things which they quoted, and I think this is what the CM quoted to me, and to some extent he's right, that earlier if it took 6 hours for the water to drain, now it takes about 2 to 3 hours for it to drain, by and large, unless it's a very heavy rainfall. So we need to work on new technologies, new ways of, really solving this problem. It's not going to be the run-of-the-mill answer, because as I said, the patterns have changed. I think from a resident point of view, and what we do as a platform, because I saw the Mitu was one of the mothers was affected yesterday, and I saw her message in one of our groups, which is our pollution group, and immediately I put it on X and it went viral. And there's so many people who are alarmed and concerned about it, including the administration, I would say. I think what we residents need to do is that first of all, we need to give the correct data to the government. And that's the role which we are trying to play very hard. So just after coming back from the commissioner who said that we have things right and we are trying to work on this technology, I sent him huge amount of data on what the colonies are saying they have faced. So he knows now that what he says and what people are experiencing, there's a gap between it. Even if though people are admitting that the drainage has improved a bit, it's not good enough. A. Two is, I think that the DC and the Chandigarh administration has to think of this very, very seriously. They need to put the right quality of contractors and expertise. Countries like Japan and many other countries like Singapore have been able to solve their problems. They had
Yes.
flooding problems. If they can do it, why can't a global city like Gurugram,
Okay.
expected to be global city like Gurugram, do it?
All right.
So we need to put high quality systems, not just run of the mill, as I repeated.
Absolutely.
So I think there are
Okay.
many solutions.
We've run out of time. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. My thanks to our guests for joining us on this discussion. We're going to slip into a very short break. Much more coming up.